Welcome to the Yoga Therapy Hour. My name is Amy Wheeler, and I'll be your host today. I guess I want to start with a little realization I had just now. Every morning, I sit down at my desk and I take my glasses and I have a little spray bottle like the one you can see here, and I have my little cleansing wipe, and I clean off my glasses every single morning. And by the next day, they get very dirty again. And I just had this realization that that's basically what our daily practice does for us. In addition to making our bodies feel really, really good, it's that opportunity to be alone with yourself, to go inward, to realize what habitual thoughts and patterns and negativities and complaints and arguments you're having in your mind and kind of wipe the lens clean again. So when I was doing my practice this morning, I realized there's something really special that I want to talk about. And it's special to me. We each bring our own viewpoint based on our history and our experiences. But I would say the area that I'm very, very interested in is this intersection of body and mind. And how do the beliefs that we have actually get solidified into our bodily somatic experience? And another kind of tangent of that is, basically, how do we change behavior? If we've had a behavior, even a health behavior for a really long time, how can we change that health behavior? So it may sound boring to you, I hope not, but I think we're going to get into a lot of really interesting, fun areas in the next few minutes. And it really comes from my background because my undergrad and master's are in health promotion, which has a lot to do with behavior change. And then my PhD in educational psychology, like how do we learn to do something new, something different? So that's kind of a sweet spot. And this is why I think yoga therapy could find its way into health education and behavioral health. Hello, my name is Amy Wheeler, and I'm the host of the Yoga Therapy Hour podcast. And today I'll be doing a solo episode as we go deeper and deeper into the 8 limbs of yoga in season 10. All right, so let's start from the top. Let's go into our yogic teachings. And what we know is that our beliefs, 90% of them or more, are the same every single day, which means we make choices, we have perceptions, we have communication patterns that pretty much set us up to be doing very much the same thing all day, every day. Just repeat, 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 because our beliefs are driving our behaviors, our choices, our perceptions, and our communication. So things oftentimes end up looking very, very similar for us. And when we try to change that chain of events, let's call it the dominoes, it's really tough because our beliefs are not only hardwired into our thinking and our emotions, but as we know from neuroscience, neurons that fire together wire together. So I don't know how old you are, but you've had neurons firing and wiring together for a really, really long time. And this means not only your thoughts and your beliefs and your communication style and how you show up in the world is going to be pretty much the same because everything's been firing and wiring together, but that even goes down into your body somatically. Neurons that fire together, wire together. So now you're starting to have a very similar felt sense day after day after day. And when certain thoughts happen, there's sensations in your body. And when emotions happen, there's sensations in your body. It's all wired together. That's really important because when we look at yoga therapy and therapeutic yoga, we are honoring that top-down process of those beliefs and those cognition and communication and all of that and saying, okay, we can shift that with an intervention like mantra or bhavana, visualization. There's many things we can do from that top down, but the beauty of yoga and yoga therapy is that we can also work on those somatic sensations inside of ourselves that have wired and fired together with those thoughts and emotions. And we can go in and have people observe and witness and be with the uncomfortable somatic experience, the bodily experience that comes from those firing and wiring neurons together. So that to me is like the gold of what we do, is teaching people how to not only observe the firings and the wirings and the sensations and the thoughts and just kind of back up and watch all of this and breathe through it, but we have great potential to then teach people how to rewire those things. First, they have to get a handle on it, being the observer, where we're not going to be reactive. We're not going to jump in and do our same old pattern. We're not even going to allow ourselves to think the same things that we've always thought. That's huge. This morning I was doing my practice and I started having this loop of thoughts. And I was like, no, I don't want to go down that loop again. Here I am doing my practice. I want to create a new loop. And that's what mantra is about. That's what mudra is about. That's what intention setting is about. That's what sankalpa is about. That's what a new visualization, a new bhavana, as Patanjali talks about. We have all these ways to say, no, I really don't want to have that same thought, that same emotion, that same cascade of prickly, uncomfortable, horrible tightness in my body. Actually, I'm going to stop this and I'm going to become the observer and witness it and breathe through it and try to work with it until I can find a way to have a new thought, a new belief, a new way of thinking. So this is happening in stages, right? It's a process. And this is why I tell people when they start yoga therapy, if we meet once a month and they have, a practice that they're doing each day, it could easily take 2 to 3 years to unwire and rewire. Unwire, become the observer, feel, sense, and be, and then figure out, who am I? If I'm not that, if that's not my identity, well, then who am I, or who do I want to become? That process of changing basically our personality that's been causing us suffering, it takes some time. So another thing that I want to say is that the longer we have these firings and wirings that are happening in the mind and the body, the more solidified and concrete they become. It becomes very, very hard to interrupt the firings and wirings, to the point where if you try to interrupt it, the ego feels so threatened that it will throw up every obstacle from letting us be different, think new. The ego will tell us lies. It will make people the enemy. It will sabotage job interviews and relationships. The asmita is protecting you. It doesn't want something different. It says, we can survive this. We've been doing this for 50 years, but you want me to do something totally different? I don't trust myself. I don't know how to do that. I don't know what that feels like. So this hard wiring, or this cement-like packing, if you will, gets harder and harder with age to untangle. And most of us don't untangle it consciously. We have a midlife crisis. We have an affair. We quit our job and go travel around the world. We do all sorts of things to interrupt the concrete from forming. There's some place inside of us that knows, oh my gosh, I need a big change. I need to get out of this. But the problem with that, when it's done unconsciously, and I'm so sorry to say this, I've done it myself, but because it's an unconscious process, you may relocate your job, relocate your marriage, relocate whatever. You will create the same life again all over. You'll be in a loop because your beliefs haven't changed. Your perception hasn't changed. Your communication hasn't changed. All those things haven't changed. Now, I will say that sometimes when you, what I call jump a timeline, you go into a new life thinking that's going to change everything. Sometimes that can give people the space that they need to do the work, right? Because sometimes the marriage or the job or whatever's going on prior to the midlife crisis that stuckness is too hard to figure out how to do the work because there's something just really hard. You keep running into the same brick wall. So if someone jumps a timeline and gets this new opportunity, then there's some stuckness that has unstuck. But again, I really want to warn you against this. Sometimes the euphoria you get in those first year of jumping a timeline, you just don't take the opportunity to rewire. And then you end up with the same thing, the same thing, the same thing. I remember a friend telling me once, I don't know how it happened, but I ended up marrying 3 alcoholics in a row. And she said the second 2 alcoholics, second marriage and third marriage, she said they hid it really well. I didn't even know they were drinkers, kind of thing. But she hadn't changed. And she basically was saying, I can't keep doing this. This is a loop. I don't want this. So here's where the work comes in. And yoga therapy is so amazing because it's self-empowered. It's you doing a daily practice. It's you moving your body and rewiring and refiring. It's you creating the intention. It's you saying the mantra to create the new belief structure. It's you feeling and sensing into your body. It's you meditating. It's so self-empowered. You may need a guide to help you figure out which direction do I want to go. And that could be a psychologist. It could be a yoga therapist. But in general, you're in charge of your journey, right? So this whole idea of I'm going to recreate something that helps me to suffer less, we have ancient techniques for this. We have Raja Yoga of the mind. That's what Patanjali Sutras are all about, is Raja Yoga. How can you meditate? A lot of people in yoga therapy, I find this so interesting, they have not learned the 4 chapters of the Yoga Sutra. This is why my next book, I want to write this book because I think so many of us are looking at some challenging, book about the Yoga Sutras, and we don't see how that relates to our work. Like that jump of, well, this sounds like it's about enlightenment, but I'm trying to help somebody with back pain, right? I think we need to bridge that gap. So when we look at Raja Yoga, it's basically health, healing, and beyond. You can use it to improve your health, you can use it for healing, or you can use it for enlightenment. And the process, the road for all 3 of those things is the same. It's the same road. It's just 3 different stops. I'm already healthy. I want to maintain my health, or something's happened where my body or my mind or my spirit is unhealthy. Chikitsa. I need some help getting back on balance, or I'm ready to flow closer towards a non-dual reality by the end of chapter 4 and basically focus on the spiritual world. So this Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, or Raja Yoga, is all about almost reprogramming your mind. And the entire 3rd chapter, the first and second chapters are the ones we usually focus on, with the kleshas and the yamas and the niyamas and the 8 limbs and the causes of suffering and all of that great stuff. That's what most of us focus on. But we forget in chapter 3, Raja Yoga, it's talking about you can reprogram your mind through meditation, through focus on certain objects of meditation. And it goes through and tells you, and here's the results you'll get. So that's pretty amazing. And then we go on to chapter 4 saying, look, if you really don't want to suffer, let's let go of the imprints of the mind. That's a whole nother story. But I guess my point is we have this beautiful foundation of Raja Yoga with Patanjali's Yoga Sutra to reprogram our deepest beliefs, to reprogram that top-down experience. Then we have Hatha Yoga, which is what most of us are practicing also with therapeutic yoga and yoga therapy, where we're really feeling and sensing and being and witnessing all that's going on in our bodies. And for so many of us with trauma, with neurodivergency, with all this stuff, we actually have disconnected from the body. We can't even feel. It just feels like a numb block of cement. We don't actually feel and sense our bodies anymore. We're like a walking, talking head. So much of what we're doing in yoga therapy with chronic pain, with cancer treatments, all the different things we do, autoimmune diseases, backing it up and saying, how do you feel? What are you sensing? What are you feeling? And we can use a lot of the techniques from Hatha Yoga to do that, the breathing, the asana, this type of thing. So that's more focused on the body or the somatic experience. a beautiful thing, because if we're going to rewire and refire this 50 plus years of having these things move in a particular direction, and we're saying, okay, we want to move you over here in this other direction, we can't just do it top down mind. We have to also do it bottom up, from body to mind. So that's the beauty of using Raja Yoga and Hatha Yoga. And I think it's like weaving a tapestry, weaving a new tapestry. And because we have the top down Raja Yoga and the bottom up Hatha Yoga, we can reweave our tapestries and teach our clients to be self-empowered to reweave their tapestries. We can do that quite beautifully. That's basically what we do. Now, there's a third area that yoga therapy and maybe therapeutic yoga to some degree could help with. And that is, how do we teach ourselves to become the observer? How do you get outside the matrix, if you will? I always laugh and say that the movie of The Matrix is basically similar to Vedanta. And, that has some truths and some untruths, but just to say that there is a reality outside of us that maybe we haven't considered before. And this goes back to the idea of, what are your beliefs? What do you really think is true? Because that's becoming hardwired into your experience, your perception, your communication, and the sensations you feel in your body. So if we allow ourselves to basically open up and create enough space, we can go back and rewire these beliefs. So I want to talk for just a moment about this idea from Vedanta, especially Advaita Vedanta, which is the tradition I come from. I come from the Krishnamacharya and TKV Deskachar tradition, which has this ability to weave the tapestry of Raja Yoga, Hatha Yoga, Vedanta. And basically the core teachings of Vedanta is that the ultimate reality is Brahma, this pure, unchanging consciousness. And that your individual consciousness, your Atman, is not separate from that pure, unchanging consciousness. In fact, you are part of that. You are like a drop of water in the ocean of consciousness. So again, we're moving more towards a non-dual. When we look at Raja Yoga and Hatha Yoga, we're looking more at dualism, but now we're moving in the direction of non-dualism. And we can have all of that in yoga therapy, by the way. So we've got this idea that I am not separate from anything. That which is causing me suffering is that I have a misperception that I'm separate. I'm outside of it. And true liberation is this realization that I am part of all of it. I am the drop of water in the ocean. And therefore, basically, I am pure consciousness. So just to go back to the matrix for a minute, I just want to compare and contrast this. In Vedanta, the empirical world out there is basically what you're seeing through your lens, your separateness. It's a misperception, versus in the matrix, there's actually a constructed simulation. Now, I laugh about that. And maybe I shouldn't admit this in public, but sometimes I wonder if we're in a matrix. I'll come home and I'll be like, oh my gosh, the sim is simming today. The simulation is simming today. I don't want to go there today, but just to say that for this conversation about yoga therapy, we're going to assume it's more Vedanta-like, that we are having misperception and that we're not actually in a sim. In Vedanta, we would say that this misperception causes us to identify with our individual body and mind and our beliefs that there's something wrong with it. I can't do it. I can't get to the gym. I'm not able to make money. I'm a bad person. I'm unable to sustain a relationship, right? That these beliefs are caused because if we knew we were part of pure consciousness, of course we would know we can manifest all of that through Raja Yoga. Versus in the matrix, people are just unaware that they're plugged into the simulation. And when they figure out in the matrix that they are plugged in, That's when all hell breaks loose in the movie. So the awakening that can happen through therapeutic yoga or yoga therapy, the awakening is realizing I am that consciousness. I am not separate from it. And the role of a guide, a yoga therapist, experienced yoga teacher, is to help people remove the misperception and to help them see who they really are and what they're capable of without, I should say, without spiritually bypassing. And this is where I think the beauty of this woven tapestry of Raja Yoga, Hatha Yoga, and maybe some ideas from Vedanta is such a beautiful tapestry because there's no spiritual bypassing. You're not just telling yourself, I am pure consciousness. My problems don't exist. Everything is happy. I'm perfect. I'm brainwashing myself. It's not that. You've done the work on the mat. You've done the work of Raja Yoga, working through all your faulty beliefs. The Raja and Hatha Yoga, they are no joke. You are rewiring and refiring and reprogramming this body, mind, cemented beliefs and ideas. Like you have to pull all that apart while at the same time remembering that you are pure consciousness. That's really the work of yoga therapy. I'm going to take just a couple of minutes away from this episode to tell you about our Masters of Science in Yoga Therapy at Notre Dame of Maryland School of Integrative Health. Hi, I'm Amy Wheeler, and I am the department chair. And I am so proud of what is developing at Notre Dame of Maryland in this Masters of Science program. It is the only Masters of Science at an accredited university in the nation, and we're doing such great clinical work. We find that because of the clinical setting, the electronic medical records, and the training that we can give through a university setting, that our graduates are finding jobs out there in the field of yoga and yoga therapy. With a master's degree, in addition to your certified yoga therapist designation, I think you'll find that it's much easier to find work. We would love to talk to you more. We have one open house per month. If you email me, I can help you find out how to get to the open house and how to get more information. Check out the show notes and let's get you looking into Notre Dame of Maryland's Masters of Science in Yoga Therapy. Thanks so much for listening. Back to the show. And I want to say I'm a little worried about our field of yoga therapy, that people aren't understanding the potency of what we do and they're not staying in the realm of these teachings. It's not that we can't focus on the body for balance and, being able to walk better, or we can't focus on insomnia and write some yoga nidra for insomnia. Like, I think we have to meet the client where they are, and we can meet them at a very simple and elegant place. But what concerns me is if we, as the practitioner, don't understand the ocean that we're swimming in, that we don't understand the power and the potency of these tools that we're discussing today, and that we don't understand what is the end game. It's not only to help people balance better. That may be something we choose to do on a given day, but do we really understand this tapestry? That's really what I hope that our field doesn't give up in trying to get into healthcare or wherever we're trying to get into, because we will have lost ourselves. We would have sold out to try to please someone, and the potency or the roots of what we're doing will be lost. And so I hope that we can all really start to study what is Raja Yoga, what is Hatha Yoga, what is Vedanta Advaita, so you understand the whole picture, and then you can very precisely choose the tool for that person in front of you at that time. All right, so how does all of this relate to health behavior change? Remember at the very beginning, I said there's like a really special thing that I feel yoga therapy and therapeutic yoga can do for health behavior change. And I think maybe I should take a moment here to kind of define in my mind, which is not the only definition, obviously, but in my mind, where is therapeutic yoga and where is yoga therapy? Therapeutic yoga for me, and I would love to hear other people's perception on this, is more, I don't know, I would almost say a pathogenic approach where people come in a small group or even as individuals, and they're focused on a certain disease pathology of the body, mind, or spirit. So people who've come that are recovering from cancer, people who come that are, trying to get their hip and their low back to feel better. To me, that's therapeutic yoga. We're kind of focusing on the problem, which is this cluster of symptoms that people have, and we can help them feel better more of the time. But the focus is on the symptoms and the disease, as well as the whole person in front of you, obviously. But there is like a marketing aspect of, we're going to help you with your shoulder and neck pain, right? And I do that. I work for the University of Minnesota. I do therapeutic yoga classes. They're very popular. It's great. No problem. And that's different than yoga therapy. Yoga therapy is there is actually an assessment done from the lens of yoga, not an allopathic medical diagnosis or allopathic medical or psychological lens. We're actually looking at people from the Panchamaya model, from the model of the gunas and the doshas, maybe even the chakras. We're using the ancient teachings as our model, the Vyuha model, right? Instead of soap notes, we're going to do this 4-step model, which has a lot of, similarities, but we're not using soap notes, even though we might have to fill out soap notes at our work. The way that we're perceiving things and the way that we're looking at the human in front of us is through the yogic models. And from that, we see what's causing them suffering. We see what those symptoms are. We decide on goals together. Then usually the yoga therapist co-negotiates which tools would we like to use out of the toolbox, and I'll help you write a practice that you can go home and do in a very self-empowered way. That could be for an individual or a small group of people. That's a different process. That's more of a salutogenic process. That's how are we going to bring you back into balance and well-being, as opposed to, I want to cure your insomnia or I want to help you treat your insomnia. It's a subtle difference, but one is focused on the problem, which there's nothing wrong with that. We love that. But the other, yoga therapy, is focused on bringing the person into balance. And I always say what we do from 5-element theory is very much like traditional Chinese medicine or Tibetan medicine, that if you bring the person back into balance, a whole lot of things shift in their body-mind system. And that's not to say we don't have also great effects with therapeutic yoga. It's just a different way of looking at the human in front of us. All right. So with all of that, I hope I'm not getting too in the weeds today. Hope you're still following along. I feel this yoga therapy, I guess therapeutic yoga, also has a lot of hope for health behavior change. Because if we are saying that we've had 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years of neurons firing and wiring together in the body and mind until it's become cement-like, which, by the way, we call that a vasana, V-A-S-A-N-A, a vasana. When it becomes cement-like, it's hard to get in there. And because we in Western medicine and psychology break it into parts, the body separate from the mind, even if you had the best top-down processing, the sensations in your body are still going to trip you up. Or even if you have the best somatic experience practitioner, they might get you in touch with your body, but your brain may still have these faulty beliefs. So the beauty of what we're doing is that in health behavior change, we can work top down, bottom up, and we can work through the wirings and the firings that are causing us suffering and so uncomfortable and yet normal, right? If you've been feeling those firings and wirings for 50 years, it's normal. And when you go to try to change that, you don't know who you are. You don't know where you're going. You don't know if you really want this change anymore because this is the unknown. What are we building here? I have no idea, right? There's a lot of uncomfortable sensations and feelings and thoughts and beliefs that come up at that point. So that's where Vedanta and the observer comes in. Can we sit with those not normal and those very uncomfortable things that are coming up while we're working through the wiring and firing and the reconnection into the new you? without that ability to sit back and be the observer outside the matrix, right? If we can't be that observer, we can't sit through the uncomfortableness long enough to do the Raja Yoga, the Hatha Yoga, the reprogramming of the beliefs, the communication styles, all that good stuff. So there's three prongs here. There's Raja Yoga for the mind, there's Hatha Yoga for the body, and then there's some form of non-dualism where you're going to step outside your own matrix and watch yourself and get comfortable with the gray areas of your life and the uncomfortable areas of your life long enough to do the work. And this is why I say to all my clients and students, do not eject from your life. You have built something. It's an amazing something. Sometimes it can be very painful, but please do not get your first feeling of freedom and spaciousness and begin by ejecting from your family, your loved ones, and all your responsibilities. And why should we not eject? Because we will unconsciously decouple from our work, from our loved ones. And the chances that that's going to create enough space for you to rewire and fire, it doesn't work that way. There's so much suffering caused with ejection, and so many people feel abandoned and rejected, and there's so much hard feelings. People don't recover from that. Families don't recover from that. It would be so much better for you to learn to sit with your own suffering, for you to be the observer, for you to do the Raja Yoga, the Hatha Yoga, the non-dual observation for several years and get a new you emerging. And the people in your life will see that. They will see the new you emerging. They will see the brighter attitude, the changed disposition, the changed body. They will see that you can sit with them in painful moments. And maybe you can even explain to them why this life that you've constructed for yourself is really painful for you. And you can do all of this consciously. And you can do it step by step. And you can let the other parts of your life and your family and your loved ones and your checkbook, you can let it rearrange moment by moment, step by step, week by week, month by month. Honestly, that slow, steady march towards you becoming you, it's important. You need time to get the new rewirings and refirings, not just your family, not just your finances, you too. Now, the beauty is that you can start this at any time. You can start it at any time, whether it's a health behavior change, a job change, a marriage change, a who am I change. Like, you can start it and you don't have to disrupt anything. You're just going to get on your mat every day with focus and attention of rewiring, the brain down, rewiring your beliefs, doing your mantras, doing your mudras, doing your cognitive restructuring in your mind. And I don't mean that in a psychological sense as in formal cognitive restructuring. I just mean you have to clean out your brain. And you can do it every day on your mat from the bottom up. And feeling and sensing and getting used to the old sensations leaving, the new ones coming, the lighter, more spacious version of your own body and how that connects to what's happening in your mind. You can practice being the observer from Vedanta and a more non-dual approach. And then you can pop back into your body and be like, oh, I got to go get groceries now. Got things to do. That process for a couple of years is only going to prepare you for any big life change you might need to make. And then you can decide. And I will tell you, I hesitate to tell you this, but I'm going to. Almost everyone I've worked with for 25 years, when they take the slower route, it's like the turtle and the hare. When they take the slower route, they realize, oh, I'm part of the problem. Wow. I thought it was all the other person. I thought it was my job. I thought it was my kids. I thought it was him or her or they. They have this realization of what they've been contributing. And oftentimes there is no eject. There is no life overhaul. Because once we understand our part, Now it's easier to rearrange the puzzle pieces within the situation. And a lot of times there's no need to blow up the life. People don't want to do this. They're not patient. They're suffering. They just want out. They can't take it anymore. It's too painful. But I am here to tell you that if we don't do this work, we're going to create more abandonment, more rejection, more pain. And it's not going to be any easier on the other side of that. It's going to be harder, in fact. And we can't even get back the relationships with the people that we had in the first place because they're done. They don't like that we abandoned and rejected them. So one way or another, you just have to set yourself up for, well, this is the work I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to do it. I am ready for this. I guess this is life. This is what we're here to do. And, some of you probably are thinking, well, where do I find a yoga therapist like that? I want that. Contact me. I have a lot of people that we've trained over the years that can do exactly that. And I trust them, and I would put any of you in their hands solidly. Some of them are also licensed healthcare practitioners, if that's important to you, to have a yoga therapist who also has LHCP background. And some of them are strict yoga people. They don't use that allopathic or psychological lens. And some people prefer that. They just want to go straight up Indian philosophy. But I think this is the potency of what our field has to offer. And I want to get the word out there that this is what we do. And, it's important that we keep those roots of the tree grounded into these ancient traditions like Raja Yoga, Hatha Yoga, and Vedanta. As soon as we pull ourselves out of that, the tree no longer has its roots. So I leave you with that. I hope it wasn't too much. I am filming this on a Monday morning at 8 o'clock. And so I hope I haven't overwhelmed you. You could always go back and listen again or listen in parts, take some notes, whatever feels good. I'm also going to do a Substack article about this topic. So you can go over to my Substack and I believe Amy Wheeler, something, I can't remember. I'll try to put it in the show notes. And maybe if you want to see it in written form, that can work for you. All right, everyone, have a great week and we'll talk next week. Thank you for being a listener of the Yoga Therapy Hour podcast. We have done over 200 episodes and we have had over 200,000 downloads. And we hope that in some small way we have supported you mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. If you'd like to support the Yoga Therapy Hour podcast in 2026, there's several meaningful ways you can do so. First, you can become a member of our Patreon community and donate as little as $5 a month to keep the podcast going. Your contribution helps us to sustain the depth and quality of conversations on the podcast. A second option is that you become an Optimal State mobile app member for both Android and iPhone. Again, this is about $5 a month, and we're going to start providing a lot of amazing content on our mobile app in 2026. We definitely want you to be part of that community. We also have a book coming out called Applications of Therapeutic Yoga in Integrative Health. This book will be published by Routledge Publisher in spring 2026. It's written by Amy Wheeler and Marlisa Sullivan. We hope you'll consider purchasing this book when it comes out in the spring of 2026. Again, the name is Applications of Therapeutic Yoga in Integrative Health by Wheeler and Sullivan. For those of you who are seeking advanced training in therapeutic yoga or in yoga therapy, please consider checking out the programs at Notre Dame of Maryland School of Integrative Health. We have a MS in yoga therapy, and we also have a postmaster's degree therapeutic yoga for licensed healthcare providers that's starting in the fall of 2026. In addition, we have a comprehensive Ayurveda certificate program also geared towards licensed healthcare providers. Each one of these programs is a pathway designed to support healthcare professionals and yoga teachers and yoga therapists who are ready to integrate these teachings into clinical, education, and community settings. All right. Thanks for listening and thanks for supporting the Yoga Therapy Hour podcast. We wish you a wonderful week. We hope that somehow, in a small way, we've contributed to your well-being so that you can go out and share that well-being with others. That's what life is all about, bringing in the goodness through you and then shining it out to the world. We need you more than ever. So let's all get out there, do good, be good, and have a great week.